Health Secretary, has General Morales tendered his resignation?
I have no information yet.
But let's talk about what Secretary Guevara actually said. Ang sabi po niya, the President took note last night, which was during your meeting, of Morales' on and off health situation. And he stated that it would be best for the latter and for the PhilHealth to give up his post during these critical times. He even added that Executive Secretary Medialdea said that he talked to General Morales and that the latter said he would understand if he had to be replaced. So such tender of resignation is expected very soon, according to Secretary Guevara. Can you give us more information on this, what was talked about when you were with the President regarding General Morales?
I can't, no? As a veteran spokesperson, as a professor, as a former professor of constitutional law, there are matters taken up during cabinet meetings and the President which should not be divulged to the public, no? And what is for public consumption is what is broadcasted, no? Every time the President meets with select members of the cabinet and delivers his message to the people. So with your kind indulgence, no, anything not shown to the public is covered by executive privilege, and I leave to the statements of Secretary Guevara as is, no, and I would ask you to ask your further queries from Secretary Guevara.
So you don't want to confirm this, sir?
I cannot, because I'm bound by privilege, no.
Yeah, even if, as we were talking about, you're telling me it's best that we ask Secretary Guevara about this because he's the one that divulged this.
Yes, please.
Anything though? Is there anything about that you can even at least tell us? Because obviously it wasn't part of the address. Anything that may not be covered by executive privilege, as you say, sir?
I'm sorry, but maybe it's really the fact that I taught constitutional law for 15 years, and I know how important it is that the President make the right decisions, albeit unpopular, and that's why we have this concept of executive privilege.
So I guess also if, because there are reports, Secretary Roque, really just need to press this because there were reports earlier today that General Morales will tender his resignation today. So are you saying it's best that we just wait for us because I'm not going to get anything from you?
Well, matter of resignation is a personal decision of the appointee. And if it is indeed filed, then it becomes my obligation to make it public.
Are you expecting it today?
I'm not expecting anything, but I will do my job.
All right. Let's talk about the revolutionary government. So the president also said yesterday morning that wala akong pakialam dyan, hindi ko sila kilala. However, sir, there were videos coming out of the president actually attending an event of the ones behind this revolutionary government, the President Rodrigo Roa Duterte National Executive Coordinating Committee. He showed up in 2018. How can he say, hindi ko sila kilala?
Well, alam mo, as a public figure myself, I go to many, many affairs. I acknowledge everyone. I smile everyone. I'm friendly to everyone. But quite frankly, I don't know everyone in particular. I think the same thing goes for the president because he has attended more public functions, attended by more individuals. No? So I think seeing someone in a public event with the president does not necessarily mean that the president will know that person. And I think as a result of human experience, people can understand this.
Does he know the Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte National Executive Coordinating Committee, sir?
He knows the Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte. He knows MRRD.
MRRD, no? NECC.
Yes. I don't think this is officially an event of the MRRD. No? Otherwise, MRRD would publicly owe up to this revolutionary government, which it has not. No? I understand it's a different organization spearheading it. And that's why what is important is the president has said he is not in support of revolutionary government because obviously he is a constitutional government.
Do you think, Secretary Roque, that this is freedom of expression or this could be tantamount to inciting to sedition?
Well, as I said, there has to be clear and present danger, no? And I don't see any clear and present danger if you simply advocate and in no position really to threaten the existence of the republic, no? So that is why I have often said that in the same way that the left have said many, many things against the president, let it be because that's still protected speech.
But BNP Chief Gamboa is ordering a probe on the organizers of this revolutionary government. Do you support this?
That's discretion of the police authorities, and we respect that. In fact, whether or not it is inciting to sedition or not is really the realm of the police and the prosecutors at the DOJ. But from what I've seen, there's no clear and present danger.
We're taking a very quick break. Later, we're going to talk about President Duterte hitting back at Vice President Leni Robredo after her assessment on the government's COVID-19 response. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. Secretary, let's talk about the president saying towards the end of his speech yesterday, don't fuel the fire. This is, of course, in reference to the speech made by Vice President Leni Robredo. Can you tell us more about how the president actually viewed that speech and the recommendations of the Vice President?
That's all that he said about the speech, no? Times are dire. We're doing the best that we can. Let's set aside politics for the time being. Let's not add fuel to the fire.
Actually, sinabi pa niya Secretary Roque, right? He said, do not destroy the government.
And do not destroy the government, no? Yes.
Opo.
Where the president has said certain matters, I'm duty-bound just to repeat them.
Yeah. So was there anything else that he said about do not destroy the government? Anything about what the Vice President he said that he viewed as possibly destroying the government or what the government is doing?
That's the entirety of what he said. But putting it in context, the president has said now is not the time for politicking. Now is the time to focus on COVID. When one of his appointed officials dared investigate the vice president for trying to alleviate the suffering of people, the president sacked him and said that everyone is welcome to help. No? So in the same manner, I guess the president is saying the vice president is welcome to help. He recognizes that she has been helping as far as providing assistance to our people who are concerned, but right now set aside politics and continue with helping the people with whatever they could, no, in this very trying time.
Just very briefly, Secretary, was there any recommendation that the government viewed as new, or you viewed as new or that could be adopted by the government in terms of the number of recommendations the Vice President suggested?
I have written to the Vice President in response to her letter, and we have informed her that we have
Right.
considered everything that she has recommended even prior to receipt of her recommendations. We are adopting the entire nation approach in the IATF, and I can tell you all ideas that could be considered in alleviating the condition of our country on while the pandemic is ongoing has been considered, and we are considering even new approaches as we study best examples that we have worldwide.
The nurses continue, Secretary, to ask the government to lift the ban on the nurses going abroad. Is there any talk regarding this or any plan to lift the ban on nurses working abroad?
We have clarified that all those with processed papers as of 8 March of 2020 could leave, but
Right.
all those who do not have their papers yet after 8 March must stay meanwhile. Now, two reasons for this. We're number 22 in the number of COVID cases, and I'm sure that most, if
Mm-hmm.
not all, of the nurses are leaving for countries which have more number of cases, particularly in the United States, which is number one. So it's inherent police of power of the president to delay their deployment to uphold the public health. No? And number two, of course, charity begins at home. We may need their services here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we have made it attractive for these nurses to stay and work in the Philippines.
Okay, so that's it, no? So the ban still stays until now. I do understand, of course, Secretary, that the March 8th, those who finished their contracts by March 8th are the ones allowed to leave, but they were leave rather,
Yes.
but they're still calling for a total to lift this total deployment ban. So still, that ban stays, according to Secretary Roque. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson